So Nick's got his disco flashing lights on to the ukulele sound, which must mean it's time for another podcast. So yeah, we're into episode 23. So good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hey up.
Nick and Bruce are with us. It's a fairly another dark night in November. So we're recording this on November the 7th. So it's kind of bonfire weekend. So one or two fireworks might go off in the background. I've got to say, I've been a real kind of whatever the word is. I've stayed in all weekend, not been out at all. Just at O&M really, plus the boilers on the blink, so it's quite cold in here as well. So I've been a bit of a boring so. And any bonfire activity you pair have been out and done anything?
We did. We went to Tockwith, about 5 miles from here on Friday night. They anticipated 1,000 people going. I think it was about 4,000. So we got stuck in a massive traffic jam in the middle of nowhere because it's one of these show fields that's not actually near the village. It's between Tockwith and Cattle. So that was insane. There were people abandoning the cars on the country roads, children screaming. So yeah, we did end up going.
Yeah, I must admit, we made that decision. Harry, she's at the pub. She worked at the pub last night, and it's Betley bonfire in North Staffordshire, which again is a massive on the border of Staffordshire and Cheshire. That's a bit like the same village one, but I think I know the pub plant was heaving until God midnight. So, and obviously we have a bit of foremost, don't we, Nick? Because not so long ago we hosted fireworks around in Malton, which ended up in Bruce in accident emergency with a firework sticking out of his eye. Unfortunately, with a bit of stray. So yeah, it's always a strange time of the year.
You only have one good eye, typically the firework in that eye, yeah.
Actually, it was interesting because I must admit, I've been to church today, and our priest had been to York on his holiday, and he talked a lot about Guy Fawkes. Of course, he's a very famous. Very famous Yorkshire guy, York bloke, born and bred just outside the Minster, and very possibly where the current Guy Fawkes public house is, which he mentioned back in, podcast number 7 or whatever it was. So obviously went to St. Peter's School, and obviously is the person that gets thrown a bonfire every Friday as well. So this week we are going to pick up on Nick and Bruce's little ramble around the Yorkshire's mysterious rhubarb triangle. So we mentioned this
around Wakefield.
Last podcast, that we would talk a little bit. I think you just come back and you've been the week before. So mainly, I think you focus mainly on Wakefield and Castleford, but we'll perhaps just explain a bit more detail about the triangle and where it comes from. There are a couple of pubs that have got that name, although I think one of them's a harvester. And I did pick up that actually Ilkley Brewery. I don't know whether it's still available now, but they were brewing a rhubarb triangle pale ale, 4.1%. I must admit, I've not come across that. I know you came across a couple of rhubarb infused beers, but there were ciders, weren't they?
The only ones in Harry's bar was a rhubarb cider, but thought mixing it at that stage could have been quite lethal. So yeah.
So as always, we'll perhaps kick off with our normal beery highlights and beery news. I've got a bit of news, and Bruce has got a couple, and I think Nick and Bruce have been out about a little bit more than me this week, so they can report back on that. I know, Nicholas, you had a few beers last night, so are you on the wagon tonight?
Yeah, no, I had my quarter yesterday. It was not so much planned, but decided to have a wander out up Malton, and just hit it right with our favourite two pubs in town. I'll run through what they had on in a little bit.
Yeah, he sent me some nice pictures. I know, Bruce, you've had a trip to Leeds, I think. Another trip to Leeds, or you were certainly in
No, I went to Richmond and Northallerton on Wednesday, which is quite interesting because they're both cracking towns, but in a way they're quite beer deserts really. And sadly, the best pub in Northallerton has closed down with one of the Market Town taverns there, the Tithe Bar. That's now gone, sadly. Market Town Tavern seemed to be closing down at Rate and Knots, and of course, he always kept a huge range of incredibly well kept rail ales. So it was a bit sad to see that go. And in Richmond, I think the best pub in Richmond is the Holly Hill Inn, but it's about a 20-minute walk out of town up a hill. Obviously, couldn't persuade Christine to do that. And I think there's one half decent one in town, but it was closed on Wednesday.
I've always, to be honest, used the Wetherspoons in Richmond because it's one of those slightly better Wetherspoons. It's in the old cinema. She's just off the other side of a very nice picturesque square, isn't it? In Richmond. You didn't see the Chancellor wander around, did you? I know.
He was up at COP26, wasn't he?
How many spoons are in Richmond? Because the one I remember, I'm sure that was in the old post office.
No, it's down at the bottom of the hill.
No, it's a cinema, isn't it? It's an old cinema. It's a lovely
Next
building.
to the Georgian Theatre.
Yeah, but it's a well-run
Right. Well, the one I
Quite
remember
nice.
is out the top of the square, on one of the roads going out of town. Sure, that was the Wetherspoons.
No,
Can't see the
there's
big
only
two.
one.
Anyway,
school.
you never know. Obviously, Mr. Wetherspoon is very much in the pockets of the Conservative Party, so maybe they have got to Richmond. Anyway, we'll check that one out. So, Bruce, are you having any tipple tonight?
I've been at Brew York this afternoon. He went there for lunch. And I have to pop out later on to take her for a COVID jab. So I thought I better abstain, really, taking the child cystic.
Out of rabbit
Exactly, yeah.
You get individual jab,
Can I have a shot?
double jabs as well. Well, I'm about to open. I'm going to have one tonight. I didn't drink it all yesterday. I've got one of my Thornbridge. My boxes, I think, coming tomorrow. But in the box I did for October, a couple of collabs. I mentioned a couple I've been on here with them. This one is their collab with Squawk Brewing, which are from Manchester. And this is their Condor, which is a DDH. Now, I'm going to be careful because as I came up into the loft, I dropped this from the top of the stairs. So there's a couple of dents in the tin. So I'm a bit worried about what's going to happen when I crack this. So if I suddenly get covered in ale, you'll know why.
Hey.
Actually, no, it's okay. I think I've had one of these because they normally put 2 in each can. And again, I think this next box coming up for as well. So I'll be the one drinking tonight then. I just do one anyway with it being Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. So in terms of beer news, a couple from me first of all. Interesting that again Roger Prott's Twitter feed that I follow, he in the week talked about Scottish breweries and 2 in particular who are building fairly substantive new breweries. So the first one is Innis and Gunn, which again we've mentioned a couple of times. I know Nick, you're quite a fan of Innis and Gunn, very famous for their oak age beers, aren't they? Innis and Gunn. They are building a brand new £20 million brewery next to Heriot Watts University up in Edinburgh. Wow. So it's a phenomenal investment. You know, we're kind of where we are, but not quite sure where the future is. There is a long-standing link with Heriot Watts. So Heriot Watts is fantastic. They've got loads of degrees in brewing and distillery. You can go all the way to a PhD. I think quite a lot of brewers, certainly that you come across, many of them have been to Heriot Watts and done a degree there in brewing. So fairly major investment, £20 million. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how that goes really. And then the other one again, and I'll wait for the flack. Brewdog, they are, and there's a bit of a theme here actually. I'm going to come back another example in a minute. I think I'm saving that for next week. They have come into some kind of deal with Waterloo railway station, and they are building a Brewdog Waterloo, which is going to be a brewery, tap room, cocktail bar, and also workspace in part of the big Waterloo. I think they're redeveloping that as well. Is it just HSD is going from St Pancras, isn't it, and King's Cross now? So I don't know. Obviously, Waterloo's going through the same kind of refurbishment. So yeah, probably going to be a Brewdog brewery next to or part of the new thing. It says Waterloo Q3, so I presume is that the old Euros channel, the Eurostar used to go from Waterloo, didn't it?
Yeah, they put loads of new platforms. I was at Waterloo this year, and the old Eurostar platforms there now go down to the south coast. But there is a lot of work going on there, of course. It's quite a populated part of London, and you can see there's work going on there. That'd be quite impressive.
So for 1 week, some fairly good news from Brewdog rather than the normal.
I suppose if you think about it, it's Britain's busiest railway station, so the footfall and things like that in terms of people getting on off the trains, and of course they've got an investment now, a link with Asahi now as well, haven't they, Brewdog?
Right. So
really flushes other business.
Well, that's Fuller's then, isn't it?
Yeah. And then just for me here again, Nick, I know isn't again a fan of Fuller's as well. Obviously we have our own YouTube channel, but one that kind of blows ours completely out of the water is the beer channel. It's a great channel. Anybody's not caught up with it yet, it's a really great channel. And Johnny Garrett, who's on there, has just written that book, kind of Season of Beer, the year of kind of drinking beer through the year as well. They've just done a really interesting like a docu soap, or what they call them, working with Fuller's. It tied in with the whole kind of cask revival and the cask week event we had a couple of weeks ago, led by Camera. And they've done a series of 6 fairly short, proper kind of video docs, looking at behind the scenes at Fuller's about how they actually produce cask beer, and then also kind of following it through. So they actually brew an ale themselves, and it kind of goes all the way through to 5 episodes, not 6, and goes all the way through to kind of how it's dispensed. So again, for those people that are interested in cask, or again would like to know more about cask beer, that's definitely worth a look out on YouTube. So look for the craft beer channel. They're normally fairly easy to find. And then again, I don't know if you come across this one, you guys, but this is definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on. Again, I think I came across it through another tweet, but there's a couple of guys who are putting together a beer by rail, kind of a bit like trying to, the slow ways movement that again I follow as well. They're trying to kind of create a kind of gazzetta of all of the railway stations in the UK and the pubs and breweries which are very close. So it very much centre of our hearts, isn't it? The kind of thing we do as well. So
yeah, that's what we've been doing for the last 30 years, because obviously going by train is the most practical way if you're on the beer for more than one reason. Getting from A to B, and also availability you lose and stuff like that. So yeah.
So if you look on Twitter, it's at Beer by Rail, and they've also got a website, beerbyrail.com, and they're going to launch in 2022. So again, they're asking people if you know, or if you use a particular station and you do travel for beer and pubs, etc., let them know. It's kind of one of those interactive things where you feed into it. It's a bit like a crowd surfer thing. They're also asking the station masters and people, again, if you're in charge of the station, let us know if you've got a real ale. I'm very blessed in Stoke now. We have a Titanic pub actually right on the station, which is great. We've talked about the taps, York Tap and Harrogate Tap and Sheffield Tap. We talked about Head of Steam. So it's it's great, isn't it? And I said we often enjoy. Well, most of our kind of journeys are have rail in them, don't they, at some point. So I just thought I've not heard about that before. So again, worth checking out. I'm going to keep following them, kind of see what happens. So in terms of beer, let's say I've got hardly any, so I'm going to shut up. Bruce, this is actually I think when you were in Leeds the week before, wasn't it? We mentioned the Templar in our Leeds episode being one that we didn't talk about in a great deal. I think when we mentioned that it has got this fantastic facade, hasn't it? The green and kind of cream tiles and Melbourne Ales. We talked a little bit about Melbourne Ales, but I know you walked past it, didn't you? I think you get your way back from the Eagle.
That's right. Yeah, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning exterior. I mean, the good news, it's not closed. It's now in the hands of Green King, sadly, but at least it's not closed. I didn't have time to go in. It didn't look. I could only see from the right-hand side, so there could be some original fittings inside, but definitely one we should go check out next time we're there. I must admit, I did go to I went to Portsmouth Solly's pub that's now in the sort of custodian Green King, and that was disappointing. But anyway, we'll reserve judgment, but next time in Leeds, we must go and check this out and take it to the Eagle as well. But I have to say, the facade certainly, that's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think actually when we looked into it, I think on like Watts pub, it doesn't get a bad write-up actually, and I think they actually still serve Tetley's wherever it's brewed these days in there as well. Obviously, it's a former Tetley's house. You're right, but again, you can almost tell it's a Green King pub, can't you? Because it's got that horrible, horrendous 3.8, 369, whatever it is, alcohol pops. And like you say, you've got this fantastic facade of a building with beautiful green tiling, and then Green King have plastered all those horrendous kind of blackboardy, well, not blackboards, are they? Just pretty things all over the front of it. So, you say, and it's obviously got the bolts there, which again we've talked about in bygone episodes about what it is. And then on the right hand side, Bruce, for those on YouTube, it's you getting off the bus in North Allerton, right outside the new Wetherspoons, I'm guessing.
We did, yes. If you go to Richmond, if you're talking about going by train, you can do a great circular journey. You can get the train to Darlington. It's only 22 minutes from York if you get the Azuma. Then you go outside the station. The bus will take up to Richmond in about another 20 minutes for about £3. So you can tour the pubs around Richmond, and then from the marketplace right outside the Town Hall Tavern, you can get this little bus, and it will take you a 40-minute journey through the little villages. Don't miss it, there's only 3 a day. And it drops you exactly 19 steps outside the new Wetherspoons in North Allerton. So it's the ultimate beer bus. I have to say, my wife wasn't too thrilled with it. She felt quite sick with it. I was quite excited, yeah. I like a little bus.
We mentioned this Wetherspoon. This Wetherspoon was it the former Bull Hotel?
Former booking, yeah.
Darlington.
Is it the one in North Allerton?
Yeah, it is a nice, yeah.
It's quite a big place, isn't it? It's kind of very old-fashioned coaching inn hotel,
Absolutely.
bang in the middle of the kind of town.
Well, no, it's just at the end of the high street. To be honest with you, it's not in the middle of town.
Yeah,
It's- There's not much after it apart from the church, heading north up the high street. So if anybody's looking for it, you've got to keep walking past all the shops, keep going, and then you'll get to it just on the left, just before you get to the church.
I mean,
And-
it was interesting because, of course, he's kind of reached saturation point now in many cities, and this is Newmarket, isn't it? I've been a couple of times now, and I have to say they've had a lovely job of it. I mean, the exterior, they've converted the old stables at the back, they've taken the fronts off and put seating in there. So there's like a fantastic courtyard. The loos are spectacular. I mean, there's enough urinals for like Wembley Stadium Cup final day, and they've really made a
unique carpet, as in all his pubs. It incorporates the stag's head in the carpet design, which is I noticed it was quite nice.
Lots of staff. The only thing I've noticed on both occasions, there seems to be distinct lack of customers. So whether in these places there is the demand, I mean, they had about 5 staff on that I could see on Wednesday. And a lot of the time, there was even one person waiting at the bar, and there wasn't a lot of to-ing and throwing on the app either. So whether in these small market towns that are affluent, I don't know really. It'd be
and there are quite a few pubs down that high street, aren't there? There must be 4 or 5 pubs on the high street. And the one I've been is the Potting Shed, which is almost across the way from the booking. And like you say, actually, I bet Betty's Cafe was heaving, as was the what's the department store in North
Cooper's, yes.
Cooper's and Bruton Cooper. Yeah, I bet they were still busy. Yeah. Any sight of the 99 pints, Bruce, when you were there?
Well, unfortunately, I did decide, as the offer was on, I should try a 99p pint of Ruddles, but it was one of 12 hand pumps, and the only beers they had on were Doom Bar and the Blackberry Porter. So sadly, there was lots of chunchy from the locals. They said they're not seeing the 99p in days. So yeah, it was there, but obviously, I suppose only so much to go around. It will be getting to that price. It's going to jump quickly. So yes, I've still to try.
I don't know. I mean, I'm presuming they're coming in 40-litre kegs. So you've got to sup. You know, that's what 80 odd pints. You know, 78 pints, whatever it is. So. Like you say, we've been quiet. So anyway, I thought you once saw this from Bruce as well. Again, this is Roger Protz again. Actually retweeted this is White Locks in Leeds again for those on YouTube. So they it's that time of year, isn't it? The season of mellow fruitfulness. And they tweeted a fantastic picture of that fire in White Locks, and that's the top end, isn't it? That fire, I remember right when it
fantastic,
is, and a fantastic coal fire, full of blaze. Obviously, in the middle of a very posh setting, it's a shopping centre, really, isn't it? You know, with Harvey Nicks across the way, and they're shoveling coal on their fire, and
government will have that banned in 5 years, won't they?
Probably, yeah. Well, actually, does like
has to be a heat pump instead. Everybody have to
fuel.
Gather around like a metal grill.
And the White Locks quote is, "We are now operating next level coziness with their fire." So I thought Bruce would like that one. And then I say Nick's mentioned it. He went on a little solo tour last night around the some of our favourite pubs in Malton. Again, it looks fairly quiet in the background there, Nick, on some of those photos. So this was like tea time-ish time you're out.
Yeah. So it'd be about mid-afternoon. I set off up to Old Malton. Walked in there and we had a Treboom Gold on, Terrier and the Midnight Bell. And it was my idea to get a flight, which I did, and decide which I liked the best, just to have one in there. But as it was, got myself sat outside, big beer area, big beer garden at the Old Malton Royal Oak, some of it undercover. Got myself sat out there, picked up the Wi-Fi signal and watched the first half of the second rugby game. And then at halftime decided to walk down into Malton. So I had 2 pints of the Treboom Gold after having the flight. That was the choice of those 3. Then wandered down to the New Malton, which is a top picture. Sat outside again. It was a little bit drizzly, so just had a flight, and in there I had a selection of Daleside Blonde, Rudgate Batlax, and Great Newsome Gems Stout. So nice that both pubs have a light, a mid, and a dark one on. But because it was raining and I was still watching the rugby, anybody on YouTube can see me there with my iPad. Decided to go undercover now. As we said before, the New Malton is mainly an eating place on an evening. So rather than taking up a table and annoying people who enjoy the food, thought I'd have a wander down to the Cross Keys. So I walked down the Cross Keys once again. Cross Keys was very quiet. Got myself in the left-hand side little room there, sat right in the window, and they had Abbeydale Deception, on in there.
Yeah, I don't
Yes,
know before,
a shame 8 hand pumps, and they only had they
yeah.
had 3. First pint when I walked in, they had landlord, deception, and Old Peculiar on, and then when I went back up to the bar for my second pint, the landlord had gone off, so they literally had Old Peculiar and deception on, which to say it was sort of 6:30 on a Saturday night, bit of a shame really. Well, not if they've managed to sell a lot of beer, but the fact you've got 8 ampoules all lined up there and only 2 beers on either.
As we said, that's maybe not a bad thing, because I think if he'd had 8 on, would he have sold, 8? And I've got to say, I was in the week before in that pub and I tried that deception. It was on really good form when I was drinking it. I think it's just fantastic. You went to 3 pubs there, and there were 7 Yorkshire beers on. Nobody signed a Doom Bar or Ruddles. You had,
absolutely.
A fantastic range of beer. So you mentioned York, you've got Leeds, Tribune there in Benningborough, the Tribune Brewery. You had Daleside, Rudgate, Great Newsom, and then Aberdale from Sheffield. So that's fantastic that you've got, and I hope that reflects kind of Malton. And it kind of says lots of great things about itself, doesn't it? Being,
definitely. I mean, it's safe for an unplanned little wander out. I came back very merry, really. Yeah, very good.
And let's be honest, all those 3 pubs tend not to have, one of those, whatever run of the mill Doom Bar, Aberdale on. Do they? They do tend to have. I mean, I think it's probably because they're free houses, or they have that's how they set up, and they're not tied to a particular pub co or Green King.
I'll say it's just great that certainly the old Malt Royal Oak, now the new Malton, have the flights, have the third of pints.
Yeah.
And it's still surprising how many people don't realise. See the tourists walking past, and they sort of look at it and they say, well, if you don't know what beer to have, this is the ideal thing. A bloke came into the old Malt Royal Oak who I knew quite well, and he was sort of asking what the different beers that they had on, and he couldn't make a choice. I said, well, have a flight of thirds. I said, and you choose your best one, because he was only out for 2 pints. He'd been working most of the day, and he said, I could have carried on working till 7 o'clock, he said, but I thought, no, I've done enough. Just come out for a couple of pints before I go on for my tea. And I said, well, this is the best way to go. He was a bit canny. Yeah. He said, no, he says, because if we ask them, they let me try them anyway without them to buy me first one.
Yeah. But I think it's just great, because I think it makes it maybe more accessible. It makes cask beer more accessible. I think my only bugbear is there are 1 or 2 places, though, that won't let you buy just a third, because they'll claim that their till isn't set up for it.
Yeah.
So it's great you can buy 3 thirds, because you can put that as a pint. But I think being better if there were, and more. I think these pubs probably would sell you a third without being a problem. Because I think
you see, I don't know. I talked about the butcher's dog closing down in Driffield last time I went to Driffield. I think the problem was I can see the sort of people that were in there when me and my old man went in there. And I say we had a pint each within 20 minutes, and then we were out of there. I said, well, it's obviously all the folks taking the seats up in there have been sat there nursing half a pint for 2 hours. Give them a chance to buy a third. You get some of these people who buy a third of the beer and sit there for 2 hours and not spend any money. But if you give
somebody a pint of that Great Newsom Gem Stout, for example, a pint, if I gave my missus a pint of that, she would not drink a pint, but she probably would, if it tasted good, drink a third. And I just think it makes beer more accessible if it's sold in thirds, halves, and pints. So you can choose what you do. And I've got to say, more and more now, I don't want to have pints. I'd rather have 2 or 3 thirds, or 2 thirds, or a half.
Oh, we've talked about beers, 2 thirds of behind. I mean, when me and you went to Wakefield, Bruce, we knew we were on for 9 or 10, and I said to you, in some pubs where you're not quite sure what you're getting, 2 thirds of a pint would be more favourable than a pint. But they brought the 2 third measures in, and yet I can't say I've been in any pub in the last 12 to 18 months where it's been obvious they'll serve you 2 thirds of a pint rather than a pint.
Yeah, I mean, fair game. I was in Brewery Outlets. I was going to say 38 beers on, and 4 sizes available. You can either get a third, a half, a 2/3 schooner, or a pint, which is great, really. You have the skill to do it, I know. But
in Brew York, Bruce, sometimes you don't want to be buying a pint because you can't afford it. You're in double figures.
Right.
So you buy 2 thirds, and it's still costing you 5 or 6 quid.
Or you're also drinking a 12%, or 13%, or a 14%, or a 15%. Normally when I'm buying, Bruce has that Big Eagle when I'm buying, which is, God knows how strong that is.
Well, it's not. If it gets to 12%, it's not beer, is it?
Yeah. Last one for me, then I just came across it's good. I quite like the Pub Curmudgeon. Writes quite a regular blog. He normally I'm knowing about pubs and things. And he posted this week, which is a picture of a hand pump for those again. One is a bass hand pump, and the next one hasn't got a clip on it. It just says let's get drunk and talk shite, which is pretty much what we do when we're out for a beer. So there we go. Right, so
hang on, just before we move on, I don't know where you two have been drinking in Richmond, say it's Weatherspoons, but I've just got Weatherspoons up on my phone. It's called the Ralph Fitzrandall.
It is,
And
yeah.
the description is: this former post office faces Friary Gardens, which were called the Friary, founded by Ralph Fitzrandall in the late 13th century. After his death, Fitzrandall's heart was buried at the Friary in a silver casket. So it looks not like a theatre. So whether
It's,
you
no,
guys
it's next door to it's very close to the Georgian Theatre.
Yeah,
you go down the hill to it, don't you?
All right. Well, I know when I went in there, it was very much like an old post office sorting house. I thought it's not like a theatre. So we are in the same place. It's just that, right. Okay, no worries.
Right. So let's get over to West Yorkshire then. So you were planning this as your kind of one of your kind of post lockdown trips. It's an area I don't think I have been to Wakefield and Castle a few times in my rugby playing days, and I remember going to the old Clark's brewery or the tap where I know you guys did a visit in there. So as we said, Yorkshire's famous, world famous Rhubarb Triangle is this kind of weird triangle between kind of, well, you've got Bradford to the west, you've got Wakefield to the kind of south, east, and Leeds to the north. There's always a bit of argument exactly where it is.
Yeah.
But it certainly covers Wakefield or top end of Wakefield, Castleford, Morley. I think East Ardley is kind of where, and is it Kingley is where kind of a lot of the places are. So for some very obscure reason, this Siberian vegetable, rhubarb, which it loves a very wet and a dark climate, which is probably why West Yorkshire fits in. Since the 1870s, Yorkshire folk in dark sheds and candles have been forcing rhubarb. And it just got to this point where, and I guess it was coal, it was canals, it was an industrial populace on the doorstep that meant that this area particularly, there's very dark soils as well, aren't they? Remember rightly around this area. It's a very dark soil, which is obviously very good for growing rhubarb. They grow it in sheds. In fact, I've got some pictures. I'm sure the pictures really, because the dark makes the rhubarb plant throwing more vigor apparently, and it makes it a much sweeter, which is like the ones I've got in my garden. And normally you kind of put an old plant pot or something over the rhubarb at the start of the year, but in Yorkshire they do it in big style. So there are sheds and sheds and sheds and sheds, pitch dark, and they often work in candlelight, don't the guys that do it? And I guess it's a fairly short season, but that's what they do. They supply the country and the world with forced rhubarb, Yorkshire forced rhubarb. I think it's now got one of those. Well, it's not the EU anymore, but one of those origin stamps or whatever. And of course, it's interesting because not that far away is the licorice triangle. Although I think there's not much licorice grown now, Pontefract and around there. I think there's one guy who's still growing the actual licorice plants, and most of it now is imported. So as I mentioned, there's the odd pub around in that area called the Rhubarb Triangle or the Rhubarb whatever. So you guys headed to Wakefield first, didn't you? That was your first port of call, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was your idea, wasn't it, Bruce? Because we were thinking about the same old, and you sort of half mentioned it, and I said, well, yeah, I've read that Wakefield's supposed to be good for a beer trip. Never really been in there myself drinking, so I think it was you that came up with it. Andy on the train as well, public transport. So that's what we did.
A few people have told me it was really. We were at Mace, weren't we? Really, it was just a fantastic collection of pubs. If you're serious about beer, well attended. Two of the pubs weren't there in a huge range.
Yeah.
Our first stop, I've got my Google timeline up. Our first stop was the old print works at 12:30.
Come on for me. We've got a bit more wakey talk yet though. Because it is quite a compact. I mean, it's a city.
Hey, Bruce has got an injection at.
I know he has.
Well, I've not had confirmation yet. They're calling back. Am I right? Actually,
so Wakefield it's a fairly small, compact city. You guys think you walked from the station to all the pubs, didn't you, when you were there?
Oh yeah, it's very close.
It's got quite a nice cathedral in the middle of it, which is quite a nice landmark, isn't it? And of course, I guess it's people know it because weirdly, it's a stop on the kind of the East Coast mainland, isn't it? Which I always thought, but always sort of a bit mad because kind of you go whatever Grantham, Peterborough, Grantham, Wakefield, Westgate, and then you're in Leeds, and Leeds is only a bit away from Wakefield.
Exactly,
yeah. Obviously, they had the great and good of Wakefield in the 1800s had some power to say that train will stop in Wakefield, lad. and we're not going to go to Leeds and get on train. So they do have a Rhubarb Festival. I think, again, unfortunately, it's been COVID hit last couple of years, but apparently it's a good do, and there's plenty of beer drunk, and they do all the thing. And of course, what's Wakefield famous for? Well, it's got a weird, well, not weird, but it's got a rugby team called Wakefield Trinity, who used to be quite good, but not so good now. Obviously, the Queen of Wakefield is the Cruise's own Jane McDonald, who's kind of, if you're that inclined on some of the daytime TV stations, you'll see her wall to wall doing various things, mainly on boats. As I mentioned, it's got quite a large cathedral for the size of town city that it is, and it's quite dominant, isn't it, in the middle there as well. And I've counted 4 breweries, because I'm going to count Ossett, because Ossett's not that million miles away from Wakefield. It's only on the left hand side there. But I think in terms of the actual Wakefield itself, you've got Fernandez, which I think is linked to the HB Clark's, isn't it? Tiger Tops, which I don't think you came across, and I've not come across Tiger Tops before. And then Tarn 51 as well, which again is a fairly small, which I think do have a place. But I think you managed to get to Fernandez Tap, didn't you? Is that part of
that's fantastic.
Your man there as well. Now, famously, of course, Wakefield was well known for HB Clark, Henry Boone Clark. And in fact, their Westgate Brewery, again, was quite a big bit of the town and dominated the town as well. But they always were a drinks company as well as brewer. And now that's what they do. They're still there. They're part of something called the Kit Wake Wholesale Group. And they now specialize in kind of off trade. You know, they're a distiller and what do you call it, victualler. So they're still around, but they're not brewing anymore. I'm not quite sure. I think some of the brewery is being taken over by other bits and pieces. I think they'd still use some of it for warehousing and obviously keeping things in there as well. So you said, so how far is this from? I presume you got on the train from York. You got off at Wakefield Westgate, did you?
Yeah, Wakefield. This is about 5 or 6 minute walk from just come out the station, swing right onto Westgate, the sort of main drag, and go down. And it's the first we came to, wasn't it? Which is actually a bit bizarre. It's sort of set back off the street, isn't it, Nick? A lot of things in Wakefield are kind of set back off the street, and it's a shame because the town planning there's it's all looking a bit hodgepodge now, isn't it?
It's 1940s, 50s concrete and not very attractive brick, really, isn't it? And this is one of those typical groups of buildings off the main high street. You remember that first pub that we saw, Bruce, that was sadly closed, with that wonderful ceramic tiled frontage. So if anybody's looking for a distinctive pub with character, there's one up for sale at the moment in Wakefield. I'd pre-looked at it, and inside was a typical ripped out pub of the 1970s, 80s. But I thought, you know, from the character from the outside, it might be worth looking. But as it was, we got there and found out it was closed anyway. But the Printworks was just actually behind there.
I like the Printworks. It had a great range of beers on, which were dead friendly. And what they'd also got as well, it was actually a pub show in sport, but it was all kind of very much detached on the, if you're looking on YouTube, the left-hand side of there, there's like a little snug with a TV in. So the match was on, but it wasn't obtrusive at all. But I say, with a pint of Citra, it was great, well-kept beer. A really lovely, comfortable pub, wasn't it, Nick? And friendly staff and a cracking pint of Oakham Citra.
Well, that was Saturday lunchtime, so we got in there fairly early doors, and there was just a group of guys. They obviously all knew. I think it is a locals pub in that respect. Certainly on Saturday lunchtime, busier, wasn't it? Yeah. But sadly, a lot of them were drinking lager, weren't they, bro? Chalices full of Stella. Yeah. So you know, it was obviously a locals pub as such. Not that they were interested in the sport. I mean, there was just one guy sat, like you said, the far end. He was watching the football, but all the other blokes were just there just to have their weekend pint and a chat light. But
looking at pictures there, there's like 6 cast lines on. I looked at them; they've all got a clip on. So
we start with, like Bruce said, we start with the Oakham Citra, and that was a nice start to the day actually. And £6.80, that also set the scene to how much we were going to be paying in Wakefield, which is another cracking reason to go to Wakefield. It's I don't think we paid more than £7 for a round all day, did we, Bruce? So that was at what, £6.40.
You said they've got like
£3.40 for a pint of Citra start off. That was a good start to the day.
12 keg lines on. So was there some craft beers on there? Was it more there, mainly lager and cider pumps?
No, we're in Wakefield now, lad. Nobody craft round here. Nobody beardy weedies and man bags.
I bet there was an American IPA on there. And then there's a fair collection of whiskey boxes on that top shelf as well.
Yeah,
some very impressive malt whiskies as well. So I think the old print works. So you said 10 minutes from the station, and I think your summary which you sent me on the day was excellent. So that was like a really good start to the day. So the next one's an interesting one.
And directly next door, you've then got Harry's Bar, which is well known in Wakefield. So we nicked next door. We didn't quite climb over the wall. We had to go around the car park, but discovered it didn't open until 4 o'clock. But that wasn't a problem because the route that I'd planned was circular anyway. And I said, well, coming around to 4 o'clock, we'll drop back in here, which we did later on. So from the old print works, you can go to the Harry's Bar. You've also got the Hop, which is one of Ossett's pubs, which is literally 5 minutes walk across the car park. But once again, we said, look, we've got plenty of other pubs to go in. We like Ossett beer, but we know what Ossett beer tastes like. If we get short of going somewhere else, we can always drop back in the Hop. But as it was, we didn't need to do with Bruce because we found a lot of the places that were favourable. So back on the Westgate, walking along Westgate, heading towards the new Trinity Centre. We found ourselves a little butcher's, didn't we, Bruce?
Oh, yes. Hoffman's had a fantastic award-winning sausage and black pudding sandwich. Oh, most generously filled as well. Quality and quantity, about £2.40. Fantastic. Hoffman's, yeah.
And walked past a pipe shop.
We did, yeah. But proper
a shop selling pipes.
Yeah. Now, I thought they weren't allowed to display them in the windows anymore, but they seem to just start, bugger that. So,
I don't know that he had them in windows, Bruce. He had them all, it was like a gun shop. He had them all behind his counter, all racked up there. Yeah. But he must have had a choice at least 15, 20 pipes. Yeah. And I said, who smokes a pipe nowadays? But there must have still been some demand there.
Yeah.
Because we had a bloke stop us and asked us somewhere. And we said, oh, we don't know. We're not from round here, mate. But get yourself in a pipe shop. That lad there will tell you. Because he was after a pub as well, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
He was meeting up.
Drinkers, Wakefield, yeah.
Yeah. So we headed into what you would call end of West Street, past the cathedral, picking up the new Trinity Centre. And once again, this is, it's a brand new modern shopping centre, which you think, well, how on earth would it ever been funded? You know, the fact that Wakefield, in certain respects, you could say was dying on its ass. But
one end of it's now a massive deserted Debenham, sadly, as well, which didn't help to create a great atmosphere, did it?
But it was handy shutting us down that way because you were after the loose, Bruce. And whilst you were relieving yourself in the convenience, I spotted where our next destination was, which is once again famous to anybody who goes drinking in Wakefield. It's a second-hand wooden army shed known as the Red Shed. Yeah. And as I stood waiting for Bruce, I spotted it out of the back of the Trinity Centre windows. So it was very, very convenient.
You'd walk by, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But once again, sort of tucked away down a side street that was like warehousing and a few terrace buildings and stuff like that. So you would, I suppose, really need to know where you're going. You're not going to just happen to walk past it unless you're going out the back door of the Trinity Centre. But hey ho, there we are. So we got to what is known as the Red Shed. So on the YouTube, if anybody's watching, indoors, how would you describe it? Well, to be fair, it was undergoing. We thought redecoration, wasn't it?
We hope it was, because if that is really depressing, if that's the general state of decoration. But I imagine it'd be full of portraits of past Labour leaders and things like that. Oh God, it was desperate, really. I mean, so we're hoping we could see filler in the walls. We're hoping it's waiting decoration because even at 280 a pint, you're rushing there for. Oh dear.
Well, look like they had 3 beers on, but looks like
no, they had 6.
6 beers on. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've got it there. Sorry.
I think
one's weighing right, which we might get a miss too.
Yeah. I think most of the people in there were drinking the beer. Yours, Bruce, was questionable. I think you had
I got a pint of New Zealand Gold by Ellen.
Gold. Yeah.
I've since had another New Zealand beer, and they've all got this peculiar straw aftertaste to them. It tends to flatten the taste of the beer. It's the dominant.
Distinctive,
I'm avoiding them in future. I just don't like them.
It presented well. It had a good head on it, and as you drunk it down, it was looking right. So I don't think it was off. Just quite a unique taste. Yeah. And I had, I think I was on the Phoenix Hop Jack. But £2.80 a pint. It seemed that was there was a price across the board. But that's where that guy came in. He ordered half a pint.
Yes.
He asked the mature lady who was obviously the barmaid behind the bar where the loos were. Went to the loo, came back, took one sip out of his half pint, pulled out a plastic bottle with a funnel, tipped it into the plastic bottle, put it in his rucksack, and then away he went. Strange.
Sensible. He's paying to use the conveniences. Right, so that's very, very
Yeah,
noble
no,
of
but
him.
it'd come with a bottle and a.
Yeah, well, that's what you do with it. You don't want to drink it then. I just need to pay. I'm going to go to the pub. I don't want to be cheeky, so I'll buy half a pint for £1.40, and I can use the conveniences.
No, you don't carry a plastic bottle and a funnel around with you. No way.
I can go spend 20p down the public ones. So will this operate as a pub rather than a club? So you don't have to show any camera membership or anything to get in.
I think they're quite happy to get a little bit of extra revenue in, to be honest.
Well, I did ask her as we walked in. I said, "Are we all right? Just come in and having a drink? Do we need to sign in or anything?" She looked at us blankly, as though she didn't know what we're talking about. So we took that to mean, no, we don't need to sign in. We don't have to be a serving member of the Labour Party, anything like that. As
well as a Rhubarb triangle, you're in kind of the old kind of coal centre of Yorkshire here, right? You've got NUM, the good old days. Unfortunately, again, all those pits. I think. What you're picking up there, Nick, is I've just got a quick look. Trinity, I think, was part of the kind of coalfields regeneration, to try and put something back into these mining towns. Wakefield is and all the surrounding areas.
Have all the miners working in shops instead?
Well, exactly.
Dorothy Perkins and Debenhams.
Trying to push something back, yeah.
So there's a bit of a conception now that Wakefield's becoming a bit of a centre for the arts. And we saw 2 huge spaces that have been built for the arts. But to be honest, they were cavernous spaces. There was nothing going on.
Well, in the Yorkshire sculpture
parts there, it's got its scripts Henry Moore.
Yeah, that's not too far away, is it?
And Barbara Hepworth. But to be honest, it's never going to be.
So that's the Labour Club or the Red Shed, and then you then set up to quite looks a very interesting.
We walked round the corner. Now, remember that pub that was closed there, Bruce? What was it called? It was called the Wakey Tavern.
Oh yeah.
Now, just found out, in fact, that Wetherspoons have actually bought that, because as we walked around the corner. Wow. There's definitely 2 Wetherspoons in Wakefield, and that one's called, is it the 5 Chimneys or 7 Chimneys? Yeah. So we walked past that one. Now, in fact, they've bought the Wakey Tavern, so they're going to expand into there, which that'll make that a massive Wetherspoons like. So anyway, at least it's it was a pub that, once again, a bit down a back street, will never reopen as a pub, except Tim Martin's now bought it. So at least it's going to carry on its life. So we walked down the hill. Down to, that's the only bit I remember Wakefield. Whenever we used to go to Grandma's, Mike, was that massive great roundabout. Yeah. And that's where Fernandez is, just off that roundabout there, down a little side street. You'd need to know where it is, really. I was interested to see an ice cream bar that I didn't realise existed. But as Bruce pointed out, I said, Bruce, I said, this spot, it only opens at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And it's open till 11 o'clock at night. And it was advertising shakes, ice creams, floats, and everything else. But Bruce pointed out what it was there for, and he said there's hundreds in Bradford.
Dessert cafes,
because they don't drink, they go and have sweets and it's quite massive in some of the Asian areas. So Bradford, Leicester got loads as well. Yeah,
what a great idea, though.
Yeah.
That was a whopper, the one who.
But anyway, forget that. What about this aniseed porter that Nicholas was drinking in Fernando's?
Well, so we went in Fernandez, and once again, great choice in the bar. And it was only in hindsight, I said to Bruce, look, Bruce, we should be drinking the beers that these people are producing. But anyway, walked up to the bar, and they had, what did they have in there? They had Jolly Boys Yorkshire Bitter. So I said, right, I'll have a pint of that. Bruce said, oh, I'll have a pint of that as well. I said, well, there's no point in us both having the same. And I've seen this aniseed stout, and I thought, maybe a bit strong, maybe a bit,
aniseed,
a bit out there, really. But anyway, I said, right, go on, we'll have a pint of that, like. So yeah, it actually smelt better than it tasted, really.
And that was their own brewery, was it?
No. So we didn't. But to be honest with you as well, the Fernandez, whilst their brewery tap is stunning, it used to be actually an old malting building for malting. And once again, anybody on the YouTube, if you look to the top photograph there, they've actually got a painting of what it would have looked like with the guys laying the malt out and turning it with the old malt shovels. And you can just make out a malt shovel over that picture as well. But the Fernandez pump clips don't really stand out in the bar. No, so that's why we sort of walked past them without realising they were there. Went up to the far end where all the guest beers were on. Sort of thought, right, this is a choice. And it was only when we actually got sat down that I spotted that their own beers were actually in the first set of 3 or 4 hand pumps that we'd actually walked past. Because the hand pumps, I don't know whether they need to speak to their artist or their graphic designer, and they just didn't jump out at us. But so we sat downstairs, and then Bruce went to the loo upstairs and realised that upstairs was even, I mean, it was nice downstairs, but upstairs was even more impressive area where you sort of had a bit of a gallery, a bit of a mezzanine, and a lot of old pub signs that were either suspended from the ceiling or fastened up on the walls there. So we sat ourselves up there. Once again, nice crowd up there. Wasn't it, Bruce? Mainly older couples, more mature people and stuff like that. And so it was a nice atmosphere. People having a chat up there.
To sit and have a beer in,
And there's Nick on the YouTube picture, young Tory with a nice glass of Annecy porter next to a fine gentleman leaping over a hedge on his hunter in hunting red, hunting pink, and the Tally Ho pub there. So yeah,
that's
lots
an
of
old home brewery sign, that one,
yeah.
I think the home brewery, when they closed the pubs, obviously thought there's some money in these pub signs, so they preserved them, and they've obviously gone to auction because 3 or 4 of the signs they got for home brewery. They also have some stuff from Ansell's as well. So
this is HOLME. Not as in brewing at home. HOLME. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're from kind of Loughborough way, because when I was in Loughborough, we used to drink home ales then, and it must be like an East Midlands kind of that side
home
of it.
brewery were based in Arnold in Nottingham.
Oh, were they? Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's of course, yeah. It was always a bit funny their beer. It always had a very strange taste to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
So that's Fernandez. So, but a good range of beer that was in there, you say. But again, maybe look out for all the brewery beers because they're kind of maybe hard to miss.
Yeah, really. Sadly, we didn't get to try them. We omitted to try and concentrate on drinking the beers from where they were being brewed.
And then your next one looks a proper back to a proper old pub.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really in this, Bruce. I mean, from the outside, it's deceptive because once again, it's just one of those square, flat roof buildings, almost like an industrial unit. This is Harry's Bar, which is next to the old Printworks.
Which only
this is the Blackrock route now.
Oh, it is. Sorry, Bruce. Yeah. No, you got it. Yeah, you're right.
Which pub is this?
Last traditional sort of working class city centre booze I left in Wakefield, really.
Yeah. On Westgate. Yeah.
Right. Nice place though, comfortable, cosy. A big range of people, young, old, working class people who were there for the arty type stuff. A couple of TV shows, the horse race and things, but a real friendly crowd. Decent choice of beers on, including.
It reminded me, Bruce, of Sotheby's in the old days on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
You had old folks coming in with the shopping, just coming in for a drink, going back out again. You had blokes coming in, doing a bit of racing, popping off to the bookies, coming back in again. And it was buzzing. Yeah, it was a good atmosphere in there.
It was.
You've got Oakham Citra on the bar.
Theakston's beers I've not seen anywhere else before either.
You've got Oakham Citra again, so they must have been delivering in the area. You've got Titanic Porter on there. You've got the 2 guys at the bar, the old guys. One looks like he's got the Porter, and one probably's got a Citra on as well. And then Theakston's beers as well. So quite a good range for like you say, a kind of city centre boozer.
It was, yeah.
We had a pint of Stansel's Waimea. I was on that one, and then Bruce, you had the Theakston's Stave Bender, which I assume was something to do with the barreling, the coppering, wooden staves. And that was £7 for the round. So once again, even city centre was still at £3.50.
And that's fairly central on Westgate, so again, easy to get to from the railway station, etc., or in the city centre there as well. And then you went on to, it's where we've got mixed up because you've then gone to Harry's Bar. We've got a picture of Harry's Bar. No, that's the picture from outside, isn't it? Which is overlooking the train line as well, is it, by the looks of it?
Yeah.
And this is where you came across the Rhubarb cider, but you didn't touch it.
The 100 Arch Viaduct that is part of the train line in Wakefield.
Yeah.
And as I say, once again, from the outside, Bruce, didn't look much at all, did it? Funny little building.
Yeah, it was nice though, yeah.
But opened at 4 o'clock, and once again, it was ticking away steady in there, wasn't it? We didn't go and sit outside in the end. We sat in the window inside, so Bruce could look over his shoulder and see the trains.
And that's one of the LNER new livered. What's it in it? That one there, Bruce.
Yeah, that's one of the Azuma, the newer Azuma trains.
Very good. Well, did you travel on that one? Were you on the?
No, we came on the cross country service from York. Then we got the Northern service back
Pendolinos.
Castleford, jumped off Northern and come back from Leeds.
So was Harry's Bar your last one in Wakefield? Then you went back to the station?
No, I went to Henry Boone's.
Oh, Henry Boone, of course, Henry Boone. So
Yeah.
this is the next one that's on the screen.
Probably the most famous pub in Wakefield. Fantastic place, Henry Boone's. Reminded me a little bit of the old Spread Egan in terms of atmosphere and the huge range of beers. Look at the prices as well, great prices.
Yeah.
Fantastically kept beer, say log burners going on. Big pub, but busy pub as well.
5 minutes walk from Harry's Bar. So once again, you know, it worked out. It was just a nice circular walk round, just the right number of pubs, not having to walk miles up, you know, deserted streets, not quite knowing where you're going, although some of the places did need to be sort of searched out. So, you know, you're best off doing a little bit of homework beforehand to know that you are having to duck down some of these little side streets, and probably bet that we did it during the day as well, Bruce, because I mean, there was a couple of these dark little dingy back alley places that you're thinking, definitely. You know, if you're not confident in a town or a city like, but I think, it surpassed my expectations, and I would definitely go back to Wakefield again, Bruce, absolutely. Yeah,
and for terms of a variety of pubs, quality of beer, great value.
Price of beer.
Everybody's really friendly as well, you have to say.
Yeah.
Definitely going.
So, I mean, it looks like all these pubs are within about 10 minutes from each other anyway. So you've done 5 or 6 pubs there. And you say probably Henry Boone's the pick of them?
Yeah, that Fernandez bar was very impressive.
Yeah.
That was a new build and quite unique. But in terms of the traditional pubs, this Henry Boone's was just was fantastic, wasn't it, Nick? Yeah.
And once again, I think Fernandez, because it was halfway, wasn't it? That's as far as you go, and then you work way back again. So we did sort of 3 pubs going out, 3 pubs coming back.
Yeah. But like you said, on the board there, you took a picture of the board. They've got Ossett White Rats, $3.50 a pint. Landlord at $3.70 a pint. That's pretty good. Phoenix Wobbly Bob, 6%, £4 a pint. Westgate Beachcomber, £4.13 a pint. Wild Child Obsidian Phantom, £5.54. Wild Child Tsar Bomber, 9%, but only £5 a pint. It's like you say, normally in Brew York, I guess that Wild Child beer would be about probably £7 or £8 minimum, and it probably wouldn't be a pint; it'd be kind of a 2/3, and then ciders as well. It looks quite a nice place.
Speaking of landlord, when I was in the Eagle at Leeds, I was talking to the locals, and they told me the Pack Horse in Leeds sells landlord at £2.80 a pint. Central, the Pack Horse, of course, one of those alley pubs along with the Angel and White Locks, £2.80 a pint.
Fantastic. Insane. So Henry Boone's was your last stop, and then you got back on the train, and then you went up to Castleford. So again, just to pick up, because again, as always, most of this I put together with Bruce's WhatsApp messages. So his summary, which I presume as he was getting back on the train, was funny place Wakefield, terrible town, fantastic pubs. So that was Bruce's summary. Although they do a good sausage and black pudding roll in Hoffman's Bakery, Hoffman's Butchers. So Castleford. Now, I've got to say, this picture you sent me of this place here looks like some kind of chapel arrest when he first sent me it. So Bruce's summary here of this was Castleford makes Wakefield look like Las Vegas, but you began in the junction, which only sells beer from the wood. That's an interesting start to the to go around Castleford then. And because this is a Sam Smith's pub, is it? No, it's not a Sam Smith's pub, is it?
No, it's not a Sam Smith's pub. This is a bizarre thing.
Well,
it used to be a Sam Smith's pub. And although he never sells his pubs, this one he relinquished. So the people took it over, and whether I'm guessing he still rents it to them, they agreed to only sell beer from the wood. So because he fully supports only selling beer from the wood, and that's the old business around the sovereign old brewery argument going on now, he allows them to sell his products too, but it is a free house. So they're allowed to sell their own real ales, but all the spirits and the crystal are all supplied by Mr. Smith, but it's actually a free house. I didn't know about this. I thought the Hebrew Bishop, that was the last surviving sort of place that had that type of control.
So the best of both worlds then. You get all those lovely Centella drinks, but you get a range of beer rather than all BB. That sounds a great place to go. Although
I'd read about this spot, any camera magazine that you pick up around the Yorkshire area, and it's always in the news that, you know, the junction is the place that have kept beer from the wood going. And it is a surprise that they've managed to keep going. Once again, certainly a mixed clientele in there, I would describe it as, Brooks, and especially when I returned the following day to collect my mobile phone that I left in there. The clientele was certainly, very much different. It was trying to get through the door was the first issue, with all the people dressed in tracksuits stood outside smoking. But fair play once again. They rescued my phone and put it safe behind the bar, and it was obvious I wasn't the first person who had done it, because there was three once again senior ladies sat at the bar. I had a good laugh when the landlady handed it over to me. She said, "Hey, yeah, love, we've kept it safe for you." And they, "Oh, that's another one."
Well, I think the state. Cause I'm just looking at Bruce's, and I've just copied and pasted straight from the WhatsApp. So apparently, Nick, you were drinking Stabsil bitter in this place, where Bruce was on Stancil, stainless, and then he also says it was a realish fire. I don't know what a realish fire looks. It looks very real.
I don't need glasses. Without me glasses, the combination of having glasses and a few pints makes for bad diction. Yeah,
but I'm not too sure what them two blokes either that are looking at you.
They don't look happy, do they? Yeah.
They think you're undercover cops or somebody.
Them two look like pussycats compared to who were in there on Sunday afternoon. But,
well, I say it sounds like just, if anything, just worth a trip, just to kind of, like you say, go into a kind of a Sam Smith's pub that's not a Sam Smith's pub, that's got a range of beers. And again, those Stancil's quite local, isn't it? That's in that area, because you've had a couple of those now on this trip as well.
And once again, from the outside, the pub is very distinctive because it's ceramic tiled. Yeah. And I think what was the name on there, Bruce? That wasn't Borough Bridge pub, was it? It was a Borough Bridge that was the one in Wakefield. Right. It wasn't Melbourne Ales again, was it?
I'm not sure. There was Borough Bridge Brewery. That was one.
Because you went the wrong way. You were going the other way up the high street. And I had to whistle at you. I said, "Bruce, see you, look. Can't you see?" So their pub sign was a bit faded out, but literally it's 3 minutes walk from the station, isn't it? So yeah, if you're passing through Castleford, you want to jump off for half an hour, then it's worth going. And say it's certainly worth supporting them. The fact that they are, managed to still keep up, and when in theory all the beers from the wood. I can't say that I spent too long staring at what the people were drinking. I don't think there were predominantly lager drinkers in there, but yeah.
And logistically, is Castle is that on the line from Wakefield back to Leeds or York?
It is, yeah. This is the slow line back.
Right. So yeah, don't get on the intercities, because they'll go straight to Leeds.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to
get on the local train. That'll stop at Castleford. Well, what is it? About 10 minutes on the train from Wakefield?
Yeah, about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the train to Castleford goes from Wakefield Kirkgate station, not from Wakefield Westgate. So you have to go from a different station.
So was that your only stop then in Castleford? Because you sent me more photos. So you had a quick bit.
We didn't do that, Bruce. What? We went out the same station, didn't we?
No, we had to get a little. We got on Wakefield. We
caught a train from Westgate to Kirkgate.
Yeah, and rush across the platform.
Yeah.
And so you left Castleford and you decided you'd have just one more in Leeds. So you managed to get yourself in the Grove, which again we mentioned, I think, back in one of our earlier podcasts. So the Grove's a cracking pub, isn't it? Again, quite oldie worldy.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's just a fantastic pub. Out 4 separate rooms, a corridor. Again, friendly, totally untouched. I mean, Holbeck now is just vast built-up area of office blocks, apartments. In the midst of it, I mean, there are no shops or anything there. The only shops are at the bottom of the Bridgewater Place development. Bridgewater Place, of course, is the famous new build apartment office block where if you stand outside the wind's strong enough, it'll take you off your feet and spin you around about 12 foot off the ground. They've actually put some wind dissipators in the sky. So you've got these bizarre barriers about 25, 30 feet in the air to break the wind to make it safe to stand outside. So yeah, it's very close to Bridgewater Place. So it really is just a little oasis that's totally surrounded by new builds, isn't it, Nick?
And this is where the best place to describe this is if you need to go downstairs from the station, really, it's that kind of
back entrance. Yeah,
you go kind of back and down that weird tunnel and the big kind of underpass that you go through there. And I think did we mention that this has got this pub is the first folk club in the world, and
it's famous for its music, and a lot of well-known people have
Dire Straits and people had met in
Mark
here.
Knopf performed, the Nottingham Hillbillies there, and you get various other people just dropping in and performing impromptu.
And what we're drinking in here, because normally I think they've quite a lot of Leeds beers on in here.
Yeah, well, we had a Ilkley Mary Jane and a Dale Blonde, and we could tell we were back in the city of Leeds because the price was £8.50.
All right,
so over £4 a pint. Yeah. Whereas in Wakefield we would have been paying about £3.5. But all right to stop off, and as I say, it's worth seeking out, worth looking out. I don't know, Bruce, I didn't find it as comfortable and warming and nice as the first time that we've been here, or the last time that we've been in there. I mean, we sat in our favourite room in the front there, and half the lights weren't on and the fire wasn't on, and I don't know. It wasn't as comfortable as it has been before. But
and what time were you in there then on what it was midweek evening?
About 8:30, wasn't it, Saturday night by this time?
Right. Yeah.
No, I wasn't quite as late as that, because if you work it back,
I can tell you I've got the same. I mean, Google timeline will tell me exactly. Let me have a look. Have a quick peep.
I would say it's probably near 7:30, Rose. 7, half 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I've just flicked onto today now. It'll take me ages to find it. Yeah, you'd be right.
Yeah, about 7. Yeah. And again, it's only about 10 minutes from the station, and then that was it. Was it? You called it a day, but at some point in this, probably realised that
no.
Because
that was it. Bruce wanted us to go for a walk to the commercial. I said, well, that's going to take us 15-20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah,
I've got to get the last train out at York at 10 o'clock. So we compromised, and we got back to York and went to Crystal Palace for one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So once again, finished. I don't know. I had written down £6 for the round in there, Bruce. Would that be about right? Even though
that'd be right. Yeah.
Mr. Smith's put his prices up now.
Yeah, but not bad at that, is it? Yeah.
That'd be a pint. No, you were on the lager, weren't you?
At £6.40 will be. Part
Right.
of Oberry, a part of Taddy Lager. I can't drink Samson's.
Yeah.
So all in all, a good day. So what, you got into Wakefield about midday, and then you were back in York for about 9 o'clock? Well, 9:30ish, 9 o'clock-ish time, something like that. And again, right. Crystal Palace, a little bit of a walk backstage, Nick, 15-20 minutes.
Oh, that's why I said to Bruce, but Bruce reckoned 5 minutes. But
no, it's more than 5
minutes. Let's compromise. We'll say 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Cross the darkened car parks down.
Okay, but it sounds like it was well worth a visit. And again, sounds like you saw quite a variety of pubs. Sounds a great range of beers that you've managed to kind of sample as well. Quite a few different ones, and tick a few off there. So well worth a visit. And like you say, transport's quite cheap, isn't it? It's not too expensive on that line.
No, very cheap, yeah. But say, definitely. I think one of the hidden sort of secret gems that Matt really pubs in Wakefield. I mean, it was just if you like pubs, especially in winter when they get dark, a bit atmospheric. They were great, and they're all very welcoming.
Yeah, the day exceeded my expectations, Bruce, and I would probably opt to go back to Wakefield than some of the places where we've been before.
Yeah, definitely.
You know. Where you're dragging about a lot more on trains and transport and stuff like that, and you're not seeing as many pubs and then you're just being a bit disappointed with some of the beers in those pubs that you go to. So as a one-stop shop, Wakefield, and just the right distance in the circular tour that we did. A couple of other pubs that were there as an option, which we didn't go to this time. So you've got somewhere new to go again. So yeah, definitely, I would recommend it.
Good stuff. That sounds a good little day out then. So another one to tick off with episode 24. So it's my turn next time. So again, if you remember a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that I'd been to Macclesfield. Again, that was a trip by train, and again, another very similar really in terms of easy to get around, very compact. Station is fairly central. You've got a fantastic pub, literally 3 minutes from the station, a little bit like Harry's Bar in Wakefield. So I'm going to take you around Macclesfield, although I remember I mainly went to the micros.
Instead of having the ukulele music, can you get some Mac lads on instead?
We shall see. So so next week I'm going to mainly focus.
Her name was Sweaty Betty, and she worked at the sewage farm. That was one of their classic lines.
My favourite pub, which X shops, which I quite like, and they do sell 2/3.
Sex and drugs and sausage roll. I'm sure they did that one as well.
So, any plans this week, gentlemen, as we come to a close?
I'm going to London on Thursday. We're going to go to the Shepherd Market to see a couple of pubs there. Then we have a bottomless brunch in the Hard Rock Hotel. Then we're going to go to the Old Cheshire Cheese. Then we're going to the Sky Garden. So we're going to try one of the bars in the Sky Garden. And then from there, we'll hopefully get in. We're going to go to the American Bar in the Savoy, which is arguably, in terms of where A-listers go and the history and the heritage and the whole story about that, the American Bar is supposed to be absolutely astonishing. I mean, you can't book to go in as long as there's a bit of a loose dress code. But if there's space, you can just wander up and go in. And apparently, it's supposed to be quite an experience. Then we're just going to wander up Regent Street, see the Christmas lights, and come home. But on December 15th,
be a lot better going to the old Mitre Bruce.
Well, I know, but it's a lot of
Or
history.
the Princess Louise.
People say you really can feel the history in the place. So it'll be interesting. But on December the 15th,
Are you counting the Princess Louise or are those the Almighty?
well, I
Where
know,
Queen
but-
Elizabeth
I know,
I
but
may
like
called
the-
around the cherry tree in the backyard.
I know, but the thing about the American way, you kind of sat in the places where, Frank Sinatra and Princess Diana sat. So we'll see what
full
it's
of
like. Anyway.
pretentious tossers.
It's something different, isn't it? It's something different, isn't it? And on December the 15th, I'm going to Dublin on a day trip and we're going to go to reputedly, the pubs that sell the best 3 pints of Guinness in the world. December the 15th. Cost us £33 for our flight. And to be fair, we could have gone for £8 less, but we wanted to sit together. So £33 return.
And old hands.
Very good.
But
Nicholas,
you're
are
going to
you-
London as well tonight, Michael.
Sorry?
You're going to London as well soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a bit later on. I think I'm spending most of the day working though, Bruce. So I will be able to, I'll maybe get one quick one at Euston Tap, perhaps. So I might try and find the mic. I might walk back from. I'm down at the Sanctuary Building near Parliament, so I might wander back that way.
You're a bit out that way.
Yeah,
You'd have to go like that.
I always walk back through Covent Garden.
Jump on a number 19, I think it's the one that runs down Alban. But anyway.
And then we're still trying to sort out our little away day together in Sheffield. Well, Bruce keeps adding further.
Yeah, I've done the research.
Chesterfield.
Pub at Barlow sounds great. And Dronfield has even got its own tiny camera branch.
I'm going to drive, Bruce, so I think we're going to end up going to Sheffield, and we're going to have 8 nights in Sheffield because I might make a weekend of it. Because I don't really fancy having to get the train to Stockport and then get the Stockport train across, and there's engineering work going on. So I think I'm just going to drive over and I'm going to stop over. So I think for me, it's going to be Sheffield.
Where will you stay, Michael?
I'm just working through that. There's quite a few availabilities at the moment. I'm looking at the St. Paul's at the moment, which is right next to the Winter Gardens, which is
it's
quite
nice.
a good offer.
There's often good days there.
TripAdvisor are a little bit up and down at the moment, but I'll let you know. So
that
that
is in Sam Smith's pub. They've stayed in that one. It's right across the road from it, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's about 3 weeks' time. So I'm going to do one on Macclesfield. We did say we'd do one on Stone, although again that'll probably be myself, so I might wait on that one a little bit. So we might get one more in. I'll do my Macclesfield Meander, and then hopefully we might be doing our live version as we discover our 3 pubs each in Sheffield. I think that worked quite well when we did London, so I think that's what we might end up doing. I'm going to make these 2 pick 3 pubs in Sheffield, and I might just pick a couple because I think 9's probably pushing it a little bit in it really.
Bruce has picked is having one in Chesterfield, one in Barlow, and one in
Dronfield,
Totley or wherever.
Right, I want you to book in your trains this week because if I'm going to cop out for a hotel, I want to make sure.
What day is this, Michael?
It's the 20. What did we say it was?
25th, 26th.
Something like that. Whatever that Saturday is.
Okay.
And I'll bring the podcast in. So it's the 27th, actually, Saturday, and the Christmas markets are in Sheffield as well. So
we've never really got excited about the Christmas markets in previous years, have we?
But I'm no doubt. Sometimes Kellam Island sometimes run a bar, don't we? In that Peace Square, so we might at least get a beer there and look at sausages and things. I know Bruce has got a rack of things he's been sending me, so I've kept some of those back for next week. And I've also got an interesting story about a new brewery bar at Manchester Airport as well. We'll perhaps catch up next time that we have a podcast. So I think we might try and do this next week, so it's out of the way. But yeah, have a look out for a new brewery bar in at Manchester Airport.
Yeah, that's hot, isn't it?
Yeah. So with that, good day to everybody. Have a great week. And I say we'll try and get back on the airways next weekend. As always, this podcast will be out on all good podcast platforms, Apple, Google. We also now are on Amazon Music as well. And obviously the YouTube channel again. And if you've not watched the YouTube channel, have a look. You see our photos and our pictures. And equally, if you're on YouTube, why not put us in the car or in your headphones and listen to it on the podcast? And please do send us or give us a review. That would help as well.
Remember to subscribe and like. Everybody on YouTube always says, remember to subscribe and like.
Yes. Good stuff. Right, I'm going to play the music and then we will be off.
Bye.
Sither. That was short.
That's got a lot. Lost me recording bar. Right.
Yeah.